So we're back again with the Untold and another season.
Brand new season.
I'm excited. Today, even though it's a different season, we have a guest from the last season.
Yep.
And we're gonna talk about something that's completely different.
From what he originally talked about, yeah.
Nawaf Al-Mhadi.
Yes.
Next.
Yep.
Let's
just
talk
start
about
the show.
food, cultures,
talk about food, cultures,
and
everything.
Yeah, it should be fun. Let's start. The interview. And we're back again with our guest, and our guest is not a stranger.
Nope.
You've been here before, but this time it's a different season, different topic, and you requested this topic.
Yeah, you asked for this episode.
Why do you have to tell the audience like that?
Because
It's not in a bad way, but
it's in a good way,
It's
because
in a
you
good
wanted
way.
to talk about something
Yeah,
that most people don't really talk
absolutely.
about.
Yeah.
so tell us, why did you request the second episode first of all?
And tell our guests or our viewers, what are we going to be talking about?
Of course. So since a lot of Kuwaitis and people from the Gulf, they enjoy eating. Everybody enjoys eating. And I believe that food is the most powerful connector of all cultures and towards people, even when you meet new people. Yeah, that's how it is.
So we're going to talk about food and culture, okay?
Yeah.
So what is so special about, or why would you choose to research about this?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people would talk about food on a surface level. What do I mean by that? I mean, people just enjoy cooking food and presenting it on their computer screens or on their phone screens, but they don't exactly dig deep into its culture unless they're a lot interested to research about its history. Now, the most important thing to know about food is that it doesn't only represent the country's culture, it even has its own story to tell. So, for example, let's take the sandwich, okay? The story of the sandwich, a lot of people don't seem to know about it because it originated first in the UK, I think. Because there was an earl. An earl is the title.
Can we define that sandwich first?
Okay. So the term sandwich came from that said guy.
Yeah.
He was an earl. An earl is one of the royal titles of a nobleman. Okay, and this earl, his name was the Earl Sandwich, I think. William
So his name
Sandwich.
was literally sandwich.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the
Are
story.
we
how it
talking about sandwiches in terms of two pieces of bread?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean, of
Okay,
course. Yeah.
okay.
لا أروح أفكر بعيد.
No. I'm just trying to pinpoint what type of sandwich that originated from the UK.
Yeah, let me tell you.
Okay.
So apparently the story says that this guy, he was an avid poker fan. Okay, he used to love to play card games. Mostly was poker, and he wouldn't have time to eat. So he thought of something smart. He said, since I have a piece of meat and two pieces of bread, he was able to improvise the meal to eat with one hand and play cards with the other, and therefore he called it the sandwich.
Okay. I mean,
Interesting.
Yeah.
it's
Why do you know that? That's my follow-up question.
Okay.
Where is the foodie in you? How did it start?
Okay. So
I mean, you don't look like much of an eater anyway, so that's
yeah,
why.
because I used to be very fat. Okay.
I wouldn't tell.
Yeah. A lot of people couldn't tell because
Bravo.
part of it has to do because I was an emotional eater, but also I enjoy food. I enjoy tasting and taking my time savoring food in that sense. Okay. What really sparked my interest even further to study about its culture and history was when I was 12 years old and saw the film Ratatouille by Pixar. I'm assuming you guys know about it.
Well, yeah, Ratatouille is an amazing
Yeah,
film.
I've seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and not only that, it even sparked my passion for cooking. I enjoy cooking because of that movie, you know?
What about Ratatouille that inspired you, though? Like what specifically? If you
Yeah,
could,
so one of the main characters was Chef Gusteau. He's the guy who inspired Remy, the main character,
yeah.
when he said anybody can cook or anyone can cook. You know. To be fair though, it's true. Cooking is a very basic form of survival, and the way I see how Remy was able to take his talent to the next level, it inspired me to try that out. To be honest, and I first began with simple dishes, like breakfast foods mostly, then slowly shifting to the main courses being rice and meat and other poultry, vegetables. I even started to experiment with baked goods and Chinese food during the pandemic.
Okay.
Like you were cooking at home, different kind of food. And how did that work for you?
It went amazing.
Were you just getting your recipes online, or?
Yeah, I mean, most of it from Pinterest,
it.
But
online.
how would you know you got the right taste unless if you tried the food before?
Original, authentic dish.
Yeah, so I would watch YouTube videos done by authentic chefs from
Okay.
from
And
the
you
said
try
country.
your best to copy them.
Yeah, and I try my best to copy said recipes. Now, for example, the reason why I love Chinese food is because every region has its own different dishes. So, for example, if you look at the Sichuan region, it's a very famous region for its extremely strong peppery flavors, chili peppers, Sichuan peppers. Even okay, so for example, if you look at the white and black peppercorns, the white peppercorn is a lot more spicier, while the black one is like it stings your tongue in a good way. But Sichuan peppercorns are actually sour, but also pack its own type of heat if you toast it correctly in a pan. Okay, and apparently this set spice is not found in Kuwait. I don't know why they don't import it, to be honest. Even though we have very excellent Asian markets in Kuwait. So in some recipes it does require to have that set spice, and there are no other substitutions. So I have to make do with whatever I have anyway. If you look at other regions in China where they would enjoy steaming their food and boiling it because it makes the nutrients still retain within said dishes. And some regions prefer grilling their food more than boiling, and some regions
Fried.
would fry their
Do
own
you like
food.
fried food, Ahmed?
Fried food, yes. Fried shrimp, double yes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Do you like fried food?
who does? But I'm trying not to.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, since we're talking about, food, culture, what is your favorite dish that you tried so far from another culture that we wouldn't expect it would be good anyway?
Okay, now this one's a bit of a difficult question. I don't like choosing favorites because that's like choosing a favorite child. No, it's true.
Okay. I love how you refer to food as children.
Uh,
Is it better with pets or not?
I don't know, but like,
Okay, let me give you why. Let me throw a funny analogy, but also a bit of a terrifying analogy. Okay, so the Greek god Cronus, the god of the gods in Greek mythology, he was able to get a vision that one of his kids is going to usurp him, meaning they're going to kill him and take over the throne. And what he did, he started to eat his own children, and Zeus fought back.
what?
Yeah.
That's traumatizing.
It's very
Exactly.
traumatizing, but
Why did I hear this?
it's mythology. It's myth.
Yeah, I know.
But let me
like-
answer the question. To be honest with you, I would say Mexican Chinese foods.
Mexican.
Mexican
what?
Chinese.
Like, Mexican Chinese?
Yes.
Mexican and Chinese foods.
Okay. So Mexican and Chinese food. Why?
Okay, so what makes Mexican food so delicious is that a lot of people dig into the surface level dishes such as tacos and burritos, but there are a lot of
I love
amazing
tacos.
dishes. Huh?
I love tacos.
I love them too, but there are a lot of more interesting dishes.
Yeah, they go for like 2-3 top dishes, and then they bring that over, but they forget or ignore the rest of the excellent dishes that all these countries have, especially Mexican food.
Absolutely. I would definitely start with the birria beef, or like birria tacos, which is like tacos dipped in this delicious thick broth, and it's so full of rich with spices, and they use pulled beef. Another dish would be chilaquiles. Chilaquiles and pozole. Chilaquiles is basically nachos with the delicious tomatoey like gravy with a lot of cheese, and you can throw a fried egg into it, and it's like one of the best comfort
I would
foods.
eat that minus the fried egg, but
Really? That you stopped with the egg?
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know, but I have tried Spanish or like whatever dishes. I've tried paella.
Oh, paella is good.
It's delicious,
Oh.
but if like I'm very picky. I'm not into seafood, and sometimes they put like whatever they put on the top. So I just go for the basics. Don't put squids or whatever they put on top. I require that to be because we have a restaurant in Kuwait that makes paella. It's quite delicious, but minus the squid or like.
Believe it or not, paella actually came from it's a derivative from the Arabic word meaning baqaya or leftovers.
Oh.
Yeah. The funny story about paella that I learned from my cousin Zahra Al-Mhadi, aka Zeus the Bird, where she made a video talking about it a little bit more, is that back in the Andalusian era, a lot of chefs would actually take the leftover meats and rice and they would cook it in their own way. Kind of like it's similar to the Chinese stir-fried rice, which was transferred to the United States back in the 1940s and 50s. But paella by itself is so interesting, is because you make do with the leftovers that you have from royal dishes or from the kitchens of nobles.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that's how pizza was created as well.
Uh,
From leftovers of like other food they put on a piece of dough. I don't know. That's what I heard.
Okay, now the funny story about the pizza. Now, okay, believe it or not, did you guys know that pizza originated from Greece?
Greece.
Oh, not Italy.
So the
Nope.
Italians
Mhm.
don't have a right when we put pineapple on it to get upset, right?
I guess so. Now, okay, so the Italians and the Greeks were very close to each other when it comes to cultures and trade. The early Greeks, when they created their own first pizza, it was basically through a piece of bread with feta cheese and slice of tomatoes and basil. And when then the Italians borrowed the same recipe, they did it with Queen Margherita. And Queen Margherita was a big fan of trying new foods. So the baker who did the first pizza, the first well-known cheese pizza, he made it with a simple dough and tomato sauce. And keep in mind, cheese was very expensive during that time because fermenting cheese was a difficult process before pasteurizing it. So they added mozzarella cheese and a lot of basil because of the aromatic smell. And if you think about it, it does reflect the flag of Italy. The dough being the white part of the flag, the cheese also being the white part of the flag. The red part of the flag is being the tomato sauce, and the green one would be the basil.
The basil.
And when she tried it, they honored the said pizza by honoring her name on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
As in margarita.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
is every
Interesting.
food named after somebody? That's
Hamburger, I believe, goes back to a guy named Hamburger.
Not really, but it
Something.
originated in...
Something.
No. It originated from Hamburg in Germany.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hamburg in
Okay.
Germany.
So I have a question here. Why is it so important that we should learn about, where food comes from, the culture of food? We just eat, but we never think where did that come from? How did it happen? We just assumed, it was just there.
Okay, thank you for the question, Hadeel. Now, the thing with this kind of a question is that food is an identity of a country, but it also defines the struggles of said country.
Struggles.
Yeah, and some dishes, they actually came out from struggles. There's a very interesting definition I've seen on TikTok called struggle meals. Have you heard of it, what that means?
A struggle meal?
Yes.
And that is?
Yeah.
Okay, so before we delve into that definition, let me just explain the answer more thoroughly. We have a lot of countries that are going through wars, and they want to preserve their own identity through food itself. And I cannot mention said countries due to the political climate.
Yeah.
But in essence, food has its own special identity, and it brings people together. So, for example, if you مثلا look at the famous Khariji dish, majbous, it's common in all 6 countries in the GCC.
But it tastes different, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are
Different
variances,
ingredients
yeah,
of
but
it,
it's
yeah.
the same
Despite the
concept.
differences, but the cooking method is the same,
It's the same.
and it has the
The
same
name.
delicious flavor to it.
Yeah.
And it all connects us together as people. Because if you think about it, food and water as resources back then, before the discovery of petroleum, caused us to be able to ration food correctly and savor food more. And so people are started to enjoy food in quantity more than quality itself.
And they used to exchange food for goods at some point
So,
before money.
wait, what's the struggle food? In the
Oh
end?
yeah, let
Yeah.
me explain that part. Okay, struggle food came out from the much poorer citizens of the United States. It's mostly common with the African American community, the Hispanic American community, but the African Americans first came up with that term because I find it sociologically and culturally very interesting because they find extremely smart ways to make food, but for less than $1 or less.
Okay.
Yeah, have you seen these set challenges on social media where we find Kuwaiti people that's like they would say, let's
I've seen it.
Yeah, 100 fils in Kuwait. What can it get me? A great falafel sandwich. Now, tell us about the rest of it, the $1 thing.
Yeah, I find sociologically very interesting because in the history of the United States, when it came back to slavery and plantation days, a lot of African slaves who came to the U.S. through force, they had to do with what they have through what they had would do is because with white slave owners, they would give them the leftovers of food. This is why, for example, they would give them lard, which is the fat that comes from cows and other animals, and they would also give them leftover meats and bones, corn, sugar, and molasses. Molasses are what dips. The English name for dips, by the way.
Okay.
And a lot of these struggle meals came from from these limited amount of ingredients. You know, let me give you an example. So there's a very interesting dish that I've tried in New York called grits. It's basically made from يعني مثل يريش, just like يريش, but جريش, but It's made with corn bits mixed with water or milk, and it can be both savory. You can add shrimp and cheese into it, or it can be sweet with molasses, honey, and even add nuts to it.
That's part of soul food.
Part of soul food, actually. Another example: fried chicken, like the common stereotype with our African American brothers and sisters, came from plantation days. Because because chicken was cheap, and the slave owners were allowed for their slaves to raise chickens during that time. It was allowed for them, but any other cattle was illegal. And later on, when struggle meals became more popular with college students in general in the United States and in the UK, it came with ramen noodles, came with fast food dishes. They can buy like for and they give you like these value meals.
Right.
Like so for example, Wendy's in the United States, they have an interesting offer called the 4 for 4. They give you 4 items of your choosing for $4.
You know what? We can keep carrying on with this conversation. We've got plenty more questions to ask you, but first let's take this break and we'll be right back.
So we're back again with our guest, and for the second part, I want to do a game first of all. Okay. So I'm going to be naming 5 different countries, and you have to mention the most famous cuisine in each one of those countries. I'm going to just...
Could you actually do national dish of whatever country she says?
Yeah, I've tried some actually.
But I haven't said anything
But
yet.
Let's go with a national dish rather than a popular dish.
Okay, a national dish.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, I'm just going to say random countries on the top of my head.
Sure.
Let's start with Sri Lanka.
Okay, so Sri Lanka. This one's a bit difficult. So,
if you can't name the national dish, name a popular dish. I'll go easy on you.
Okay, so I visited Sri Lanka back in 2019, and they've had this amazing lamb dish. I forgot the name.
I love lamb.
I love lamb so much.
Do you remember how it was prepared? What was different about it?
Okay, so as I remember, they served it in a plate with other vegetarian-based dishes. It was like beef cutlets. It was like they first grilled it, and then they throw it into a broth. It was so good. I forgot the name, but it was so good.
Okay, second country.
We believe you.
I'm gonna go something easier. Tunisia.
Harder.
Okay, Tunisian. It's I think the most famous dish is being couscous. North African countries rely on couscous, so Tunisia is very popular with it. I want to make couscous, but I don't know how to make it right yet.
But you can find the ingredients in supermarkets. It's quite easy. Okay, let's go something with Puerto Rico.
Okay. Now that was very difficult. Okay, can we try another country?
Okay.
His weakness is South American, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's go with Ghana.
Okay, so Ghana's most famous dish would be jollof rice. It's a very delicious dish I've tried in South Africa. Funnily enough, it's very similar to the red machboos that we do in Kuwait.
Oh.
But the exception is that they use a lot of heavy tomato sauce and scotch bonnet peppers.
So it's probably the rice is a bit softer than ours.
Yeah, in some regions in Ghana they make it a bit softer, and some it has the same machboosi consistency. But the scotch bonnet pepper, it's this big, but it's extremely spicy. Really, really, really spicy. And you can cook it with chicken or lamb or beef.
Nice.
But either way, it's so good.
Okay. What about England?
Okay.
That should be easy.
Chicken tikka masala. How are you doing, my friend? Or is it butter chicken? Which one is it? The national dish.
That'll be fish and chips.
Of
Nah,
England?
come
Yeah,
on. It is an Indian dish. Everyone knows that.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Fish and chips,
It
my
is
guy.
an Indian dish.
It is fish and
She
chips.
said England.
That
She
one
said
I
England.
actually know.
The UK.
Yeah, the UK.
Yeah.
Now,
the UK.
England, fish and chips, of course.
Yeah.
Ireland.
Did you say England?
I said England, not Ireland.
Yeah, he's going off the UK.
Yeah, so
around the
so when you say the UK, to be specific. But England
Yeah.
is definitely fish and chips, of course. The history of the fish and chips is quite interesting because they had a very strong fishery industry in the UK, and it was cheap, and still is, by the way, and loved by everyone.
Yeah, fish and chips is
Okay.
great.
Scotland.
Oh, that would be haggis.
And that is? What is that?
Okay, prepare your guts for it, literally and metaphorically. So haggis is basically made from the hearts and kidneys and the guts of sheep, put inside the stomach of a lamb with corn bits, like something like the same as like
Okay.
برغل, مثل like just like
That
burgo.
sounds familiar to some Egyptian cuisine. Okay.
Yeah, it is actually, and it's boiled for 3 hours. I've tried the vegetarian version.
The
Okay.
vegetarian version of that non-vegetarian dish.
Yes, it's so good. It's so good.
Okay.
I would love to try like the beef version if there was a halal version, but it's known as the breakfast of champions in Scotland.
But
I
there's
can only
a
imagine why.
very similar dish to that. It's called mumbar. It's Egyptian. Yeah, you
Do you
probably.
want to tell us about it?
It's basically the guts of sheep or goat or like whatever, and they stuff rice and stuff into it, and then they fry it, and then they eat it.
I want to try.
I haven't. I get disgusted usually.
Oh, what's it
but
called again?
Mumbar.
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 Mumbar. Okay.
Yeah, I think Egyptians will know what it is.
Oh.
So I do have one more country, but I'm gonna let Ahmed choose that one for you. So
All right.
surprise me.
I'm gonna think.
Don't disappoint me.
deeply. Madagascar.
What?
I don't know. That's not even a country, is it?
Uh,
It is, right?
That wouldn't even.
Just one
come in my
second.
head.
Let's just figure out the geography of this question.
well, it is in South. Okay, so it is in West Africa.
Okay.
But I am very much unfamiliar with their cuisine,
Okay.
to be
I
honest.
was just trying to push you. This is just,
Okay, go with
Okay,
something
okay.
easier.
easier. You talked about Chinese food, and you said each area has specific things. How about Beijing?
Okay, so Beijing is a bit tricky, to be honest. But what I know is that they enjoy grilling their food a lot. Okay.
Grilling their food.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're very versatile, to be honest, in their cooking.
I do have one question. Why do some countries cook or eat, cockroaches and
Insects.
Insects, yes.
Is it the protein? Is it what is
Well,
it?
How
It's crazy.
and how do they even come up with that idea? Some countries even eat dogs. I heard in Thailand, I think, or in some country, their main dish is dog meat.
Oh, yeah.
And you can find it really cheap in there, like $3 each.
Yeah, let
dog.
me explain why. So keep in mind that raising livestock is actually very expensive when when
True.
it comes to agriculture. Imagine having to raise 500 cows per year. That's very expensive when it comes to mulch and
Because of
having-
the population of China, too.
Yeah. The population also plays a role. So when it comes to insects as a form of protein or meat, it's actually a lot affordable and even has the same amount of protein to when it comes to regular beef or chicken.
But why?
It's an alternative, to be honest, because think about it. Insects breed much faster
Right,
than livestock, to be honest. And when it comes to other dishes, so like dog meat or cat meat, which I absolutely condemn, to be honest. But one of the reasons why some cultures do it, they view it as a delicacy, to be honest. It's more of a delicacy, but also a form of reducing carbon emissions by finding other alternatives, which is kind of strange in my opinion. But it's their own culture. They do what they want
Right.
at the end of the day.
It is outlawed, though, I think, nowadays.
In some
think so.
countries.
Yeah,
It
in
is
some
outlawed.
countries, yeah, absolutely.
But some countries, it's their actual main dish. And I've seen a video on social media where
Yeah, you
you can
shouldn't watch
actually
those
buy a dog for $3, and they will, skin it off, cut it, and cook it for you.
Oh yeah.
And that would be your main dish of the day. And I've seen some Asian guy eating it. It was like, yeah, this is my favorite dish. I've been eating this for 20 years of my life. And I'm like, but
I
just
don't
think
understand.
be
all of this-
vegetarian. Wouldn't
yeah.
that be just easier?
Believe it or not, even being a vegetarian it has its own hidden costs. Like yeah, sure. Buying vegetables is a lot cheaper, but you have to be careful because, for example, if you live in the U.S., buying vegetables is already becoming a lot more expensive. So a lot of people in much lower social statuses have to buy fast food because it's cheaper and more affordable in a sense, which is kind of strange.
It's more quantity than quality.
Yeah, absolutely.
From what you're saying is struggle food developed or morphed into soul food, basically.
In a sense, yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, and soul food came from the times. What I think what makes soul food so interesting, that's not a part of struggle meal, but it derived from that history.
Right.
So what makes soul food very interesting is the fact that they incorporate a lot of dishes that came from the times of struggle for the African American community in the United States. But when it comes to struggle meals that we see with college students, it's very creative because they will make dishes from $1 or less, or like
Yeah.
less than $5.
Those college days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, I've seen some of these challenges in Kuwait where they would say, "Let's buy an entire main course or breakfast with 1 KD, and what can I do
Right.
with it?"
Right.
You can survive on 1 KD in Kuwait for a whole day,
Absolutely.
which is
That-
incredible.
Yeah.
I find it creative because it teaches financial literacy to students, but to people in general. But that does not necessarily equate to healthy eating in a sense.
Yeah,
No,
eventually,
no, yeah.
you know, getting sugary,
It kind
oily
of seems like to
food.
get a properly healthy meal at restaurants, it does cost more.
It does, because keep in mind that
Yeah.
has to do with production and the
Production,
agricultural costs,
yeah.
fertilizers.
Fresh produce, all that.
And the thing is, if you are in a country that, you know, are really doing really well with plantation and whatever, it would be cheaper in there. Like if you go to Lebanon,
Mm.
it's much cheaper to get like manaish.
Oh yeah, I guess
and
so.
more delicious, and it tastes a lot different.
Yeah.
You're talking about really healthy, you know, pastry.
Mm-hmm.
Here in Kuwait, if you eat pastry, you're definitely gonna gain weight. But there, it's actual healthy
Yeah.
ingredients. So I think it depends on the country's, you know, resources. itself.
Absolutely, I have a very powerful example of this. Bosnian food, or like food from the
Bosnian
Balk-
food.
Yeah, Bosnian food so,
Ooh,
so
how come you
delicious.
didn't think
actually.
about that one?
I
Yeah,
don't know. Ask yourself.
yeah. So in Eastern Europe, there's a region known as the Balkans. That's basically like the Eastern European, the Eastern European equivalent to the Arabian Gulf, the GCC.
Okay.
Okay, so the Balkans consist quickly from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Slovenia, and Croatia, and Montenegro.
Yeah.
And all of these countries have a lot of similar dishes, historically speaking, and they're very delicious because they actually remind me of the dishes of the old days where our parents used to eat. You know, a lot of grilled food and now food that comes from farms and from nature. And Bosnia has like the most beautiful farms I've ever seen in my life. And when I've tried their kebabs, because they have a lot of Muslim restaurants, and I've tried their meat and kebabs, I didn't want to stop eating there. It is so
Oh,
fresh.
wow.
Like they basically let the cow do its thing and letting it eat as much as grass and be in the fresh air and sunlight, which is the opposite of factory farming.
Right.
You know?
That's
and it-
more the organic method.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is so affordable that, yani, for example, when you order like a big barbecue platter for 5 people, it would usually cost 5 to 7 KD.
No way.
Wallah al-azim.
And it's quality meat.
It is.
Wow.
And for breakfast dishes, like imagine ordering a breakfast meal for 7 people. It would cost around like 4 KD or 3
How
KD.
about we move there?
For
Sounds
food,
cheaper.
you want to go there for food?
Yeah.
Sounds cheaper for a
Okay,
living.
before we wrap up, I have one question for
Absolutely.
you. I heard, or I've been told, if people from, let's say, 100 years ago come to our century and they live on our processed food, they wouldn't be able to survive, and vice versa. If we eat their, you know, total organic healthy food all the time, we would get sick. We wouldn't be able to handle it. Is that true?
To some extent, yes, I would agree, because keep in mind the beauty of human biology can explain that our bodies are slowly adapting to new bacteria, viruses, and to other new kinds of foods. Because keep in mind, with modern medicine and vaccines that we're getting, it helps us to live much better. But if you compare, for example, like what Hadeel said, 100 years ago, yeah, they will have a lot of hard time. But if we try organic food from 100 years ago, I don't
We'll
think it
be
will.
fine,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it will cause that much effect. But it may be except for raw milk, because raw milk cannot be consumed. It's full of deadly bacteria and viruses.
So it would be hard for us to consume their actual food because we're so used to processed food. Our bodies, you know.
Not necessarily.
Yeah,
no,
but
no,
now
no.
if you switch to a vegan style, you're not gonna
Yeah,
get
not
sick.
necessarily
But I'm
actually.
gonna miss meat.
Ye-
I like chicken.
I think
I need
that's
my
the problem.
proteins.
I think that's the problem.
Anyway, it was
We're running
nice.
out of time.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure having you on for a second time. I feel like a third one is coming on.
I
soon.
really hope so.
It's really nice having you on the show. You're such a
Thank you,
pleasure
Hadeel.
to
Thank
have.
you, Ahmed.
And
Thank you,
we
Nawaf,
have
for
to end
coming
this.
on the show.
So
Yeah, we'll be back for the wrap up. What a fun episode. I got hungry. You know, he mentioned so
I'm a
many
little hungry.
delicious dishes.
You remember last season we said we were gonna do a lot of things that we haven't done, but I think this one I'm gonna do. I'm actually gonna eat later, so
Okay.
I'm hungry
And
now.
what do you think you're gonna eat?
Something with protein, obviously.
Oh, well.
I want my chickens.
All right, she wants her chicken. Tune in next time for
That's
another
how it-
guest and more conversations and meeting new people and learning about them and their backgrounds. Till next time, have a good night.
Have a good night.